Looking at our monitors there at Capitol Hill, where the countdown continues. You see the calendar here behind me. The countdown continues for lawmakers to get that government funding bill passed. They have 1 week to push that legislation through, or they risk yet another shutdown. So all eyes now are on House Speaker Mike Johnson. The pressure to keep the lights on build as several members of the House Freedom Caucus say they aren't ready to hand their votes over quite yet. They're holding their cards. So Johnson says the text for his resolution bill could come this weekend, and it's going to be a busy one. CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns joins us now. So walk us through what's at stake here for Johnson and the Republican Party. It seems like once again we find ourselves reporting that this is the 11th hour and more negotiations.
Yeah, Reed, I was going to say, if you feel like you've been here before, you have many times. We have seen this playbook before. We have 1 week before the government runs out of money. Congress knows this. Johnson is expected to release text of a bill tonight, tomorrow, through the weekend. They're expected to vote on it, actually, on Tuesday, he said. So basically what he's proposing is just continuing current levels of government spending through the end of the fiscal year, which is the end of September. There are no big cuts to government spending in this package. It's just let's continue at the level set by the Biden administration through the end of the year, and then that way you kind of get it off the table, and then you can kind of have these policy fights in the bigger budget where they outline their priorities for the next fiscal year.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, you heard it right. They have 1 week to go, and Speaker Johnson is just saying that his text might be ready for this weekend. Now, that presents a repeat problem because this is an ongoing issue where it comes down to the last minute, a bill is presented, there's no reasonable time to read the bill, and yet the Republicans are ready to vote on it, and they're going to be in mark step because the Fuhrer wants it that way. So, in all fairness to Mike, the only thing he's really got and the only hope he's got is that he continues on with the Biden bill. The spending cuts are going to have to be looked at, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But if he tries to do anything with Medicare, Medicaid, and health care, I'm sure the Democrats are going to, on the party line, vote no, and they could lose enough Republicans to drive this into a situation where the government does shut down a week from Friday. By the time you see this, there'll be 6 days left for this to work on. And by the way, he's hoping to get that paperwork out this weekend, and it has to be voted on by Tuesday. Let's see. By the time you see this, it's going to be Saturday. By the time anybody gets to read it, it might be Sunday. And less than 48 hours later on, they want a budget bill read, understood, dissected, discussed, and voted on. I don't know how they run this government anymore. I'm not sure when the last real budget was ever passed on time. I'm going to put a note down here because I'm going to look it up after I get done recording this, and I'll put it across the screen as to when a real budget was really passed, because the CRs, as they're referred to, the continuing resolutions, seem to be the order of business. Now, we've got a problem. Mike has indicated that what they refer to as the House Freedom Caucus, I prefer to call it the clown car posse, doesn't want to give out their position on his budget yet. It's the same budget that Biden gave them last year, but they don't want to give out their position on it. And by the way, in case you're not aware of who the clown car posse is, let me just read them all to you because I want to make sure I get their names and their states clear. It's going to be Scott Perry out of Pennsylvania, a former chairman. It's going to be Chip Roy out of Texas. It's going to be Jim Jordan out of Ohio, the criminal in waiting for an indictment on his old college wrestling matters. Matt Gaetz out of Florida, he's not in there anymore. I'm not sure why they're including him in there. Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, whatever you want to call it, and the Queen herself, Lorena Bobbitt. So those people in their collective of power struggle are going to hold out their vote and hold out what they're going to do away from the rest of the Republican Party in search of their moments of fame. I'm not sure, and if I look at the list real quick, I'm betting on at least 3 of them that don't understand the bill at all and would just go along with whatever the rest of them told them to do. I've got a little clip here I want you to hear for just a second.
Joining us now is the top Democrat on the House Budget Committee, Congressman Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania. So are you planning on getting on board with a funding deal that the Republicans proposed?
Well, first, as of this moment, there is no funding deal that Republicans have proposed. They have walked away from the table. You know, it reminds me of when I was here 8 years ago and Donald Trump was first elected. We had a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and Donald Trump in the White House. And we ended up having a 37-day government shutdown, the longest in American history. It seems to me that there are a lot of Republicans who want exactly the same thing and want history repeating itself this time around, except this time it's even worse because right now the Trump administration, led by Elon Musk, is illegally shutting down government agencies that we have already previously voted to fund.
And there's arguments that they're also trying to take, on top of that, the power of the purse away from Congress, or as exemplified by that. So is there any funding deal whatsoever that you can get on board with, given the way this administration has acted toward congressional power?
Well, again, just to be clear, if we have a shutdown, Republicans control the House, the Senate, the White House. If we have a shutdown, it'll be because Republicans want one. In terms of what I am willing to support, to me, a clean CR, a clean continuing resolution, means we get back to the funding deal that was voted on last fall. That means that we actually have a reversal of these illegal actions that the Trump administration, led by Elon Musk, is taking right now. Let's be clear. When appropriations bills pass, they're not suggestions. They're laws.
Johnson's proposing keeping the current levels. The vote has to happen on Tuesday. And again, nobody's read this bill yet. If they don't get something done, as the congressman said, they own the House, they own the Senate, and they own the presidency. It's their problem. No one really wants to see a government shutdown. But quite honestly, I think the Democrats would have some leverage with it because Donald doesn't want to see it happen either. Donald doesn't want to say that he couldn't negotiate. The man who's the art of the deal couldn't negotiate a budget between the Republicans and the Democrats. He doesn't want that to happen at all. That's one of his nightmares. But I digress. I think Hakeem, I doubt you're listening to this, but if someone is that knows Hakeem, let's talk to him. He has a leverage point here. He's got 4 or 5 votes that he could pull away from the Republicans, which would end that budget bill, they could argue for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and all the other health care things that Donald wants eventually stripped out so that he can give his broligarch buddies the tax breaks, the Elon Musks of the world, and the guys that owned Amazon, all the other broligarch things. He wants to give all his boys a break, and this is one of the ways he could do it, but we could stop him from that. We've got what they're looking at is an $800 billion cut on health care that there's millions, literally tens of millions of Americans rely on these programs. This isn't a joke. This isn't something that you can just dismiss. There's people out there that won't get their medicine. They'll die. There's people out there that won't get food. They'll be in poor health. They don't have health care. Where are they going to go? The ending isn't a pretty picture. If you've got anything to say about this and you can get the Republicans to do something with it, by all means, go ahead. And there's that other thing out there where the House, and again, I'll put it down here in the bottom, one of the other people had told the Republican House people and the Senate people that if their town halls aren't going well, just stop doing them. Okay, that's a good idea. Hakeem, maybe we should start holding more town halls and inviting the Republicans in to talk to us about what's going on. They're upset. They want someone to talk to. They want a result someplace. They're coming to you. You don't have to go to them like when you're looking for votes. They're coming to you, so why not try that idea? I think the Democrats should start holding town halls in every city and every state. What do you think, guys? But I digress. The Republicans don't want to have a shutdown. The Dems don't really want to have a shutdown. But if it's a way of forcing the Republicans into cooperating in a legitimate manner and passing a real budget and passing a real plan, then I'm sorry, I've never voted for a government shutdown before, but I'm willing to let this one go. So, folks, on a different note, I want to end this with a little bit of satire. I did a podcast about a month ago, and I got a lot of reaction from it, and I'm getting requests for more stuff from it. So I'm going to leave you with just a little clip here. It's Jimmy Kimmel discussing Donald Trump. And as you know, Donald has no love for Jimmy.
Americans, I'm Jimmy. I'm the host of Thank You for Watching. Thank you for joining us here at our headquarters in Hollywood, where a lot of the country watched a very special episode of The White POTUS tonight. It was a night of pomposity and circumstance as Donald Trump addressed a joint session of Congress because, he rarely gets to be on TV, so why not? And so anytime this maniac speaks, it is a joint session. It's a joint session. It's an edible session. It's a raid the medicine cabinet for anything to dull the pain kind of night. And tonight was no exception. His speech started late, and I guess they were waiting for that last coat of shellac to dry on his face, but the reviews are in, and guess what? He did great, according to Fox News anyway. Mostly English-sounding words, semi-coherently strung together without any visible on-air defecation. A masterpiece. Sean Hannity really has a way with words. But this is the 5th time Trump has addressed Congress, and he got quite an introduction from the Sergeant-at-Arms.
Mr. Speaker, members of Congress, please welcome Diaper Donnie, Man Boom Mussolini, Captain Bone Spurs, Mar-a-Lardo, the notorious P.I.G., General Von Schitzenpants, Putin's Boy Puckett, His Flatulency, the President of the United States, Donald Jellybelly Trump.
Members of
Okay, folks, that was good enough. Let me know down below if you like that. I'll end more or start more podcasts with kind of things like that, but let me know. In the meantime, thank you to everyone that's out there. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you to just my viewers who aren't subscribed. It's an odd number. 30% of my viewers are subscribed, 70% aren't, and my numbers are going crazy nuts. So my view hours, my number of views, my cities around the world are going wonderfully well. One of the things I want to tell everybody every night that we're out here together, we at Unscripted Political Discourse support the 50-51 marches and protests, the nonviolent actions. We support them 100% and encourage your involvement with them. With that, folks, I'm going to say thank you again. It's a privilege to be able to speak to you every night. I really do enjoy being here myself. So have a wonderful evening and good night.